also a wild time to be a Big 12 fan. I don't know that there's a conference in the history of college football that has added schools 2 consecutive seasons. So new teams in 2023, new teams on the schedule. 2024, we get the 4 incoming from the Pac-12. Of course, some are going to be on Oklahoma State's schedule. Were you excited to see the teams that entered in 23, the teams in 24? You pumped about them, or they just schedule fillers? Or do you think that they add to the conference and add to what Oklahoma State's doing?
I'm actually extremely excited. For as much as the natural animosity seems to be stirring between Oklahoma State and Utah fans, that's good for marketability, profitability, eyeballs, right? And then you're going to have the matchups of Coach Prime versus Mike Gundy, Coach Prime versus Coach Whittingham. And then you have the talent of Noah Fafita and Tetaroa McMillan at Arizona. That's going to be worth watching. So I think from an eyeballs perspective, yeah, I think it's absolutely massive that we brought in the 4 corner schools, and they bring different layers of things. I mean, Arizona State right now is recruiting at a very, very high level, which means that Dillingham should have them pretty competitive in the next couple of years as well. So I think it's wonderful for the Big 12, and I think it's great for our schedule. This whole Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Utah dichotomy, it's making this season a little bit bigger than it would have been otherwise.
So this may just be the beginning. We may see more. So whether this is your opinion or the opinion of your fans and viewers from the Big 12 perspective, are most people in the camp of this is good, we're good, 16, it makes sense in so many ways, or hey, we'll take some overflow from the ACC if they're the right schools?
I would say, from what I've gathered, the common consensus would be that we want to stay where we are, but we also know that that's not really likely, right? The ACC is having a lot of issues. Now, the influx of SMU and Stanford from a voting perspective could be beneficial in the long run, but Florida State clearly wants out. North Carolina wants out. Miami's going to have the opportunities to get out, which leaves your teams like Pitt and Louisville and NC State. Where are they going to end up? Well, the most likely destination would be the Big 12 if it went that route. Is it good for the game? I don't know that it's good for the game, but I can say it's good for the Big 12, right? We're in a better position now than we've ever been historically. I mean, even if you go back to 96 when we brought in Texas, if you go back to, when we had Nebraska and A&M and everybody, that was kind of, and when Colorado was really, really good back then too, that was kind of the focal point of the Big 12, in my opinion. The perception of the Big 12, I think, has been a conference that's good enough to win, but never good enough to win the big ones, right? Now we just need to shift that perception. OU proved that for years. TCU, unfortunately, proved that in the national title game against Georgia. So the next step for the Big 12 is to not only compete in the Final Four, but get to a national title and do something with it. Is that going to happen this season? Probably not. But I think we are in a position to make that feasible in the next couple years.
So, Cody, when you say that could be feasible in the next few years, there's really nothing that indicates that any of these schools currently in the conference, though I love the football brand. So I gotta clarify this because I get people jumping on me all the time for this. I love the football brand. I love the football. I'll be watching Big 12 football. I always watch Big 12 football. I think it is the most competitive conference in the country. I don't even think it's debatable or close. However, once playoff time hits and there's one Big 12 team, probably 2, that should be where it typically stands. It's been proven a second Big 12 team, if you look at past history, should be able to make it into the playoff. But last year might have just been 1.
Right.
That we don't see any evidence of those schools that are at the top of the Big 12, whether that's Oklahoma State, Utah, Kansas State, that are going to be able to win meaningful games in the playoff.
Yeah, again, there has to be a point in time where you eventually shift that perception. And again, it's somewhat unfortunate because what happened to TCU in the national title game completely erased what they were able to do to Michigan, who won the next national title. So again, the perception is that they can get there, but they can't win once they get there. And thus far, for the last 15 years, that has been pretty much true. Somebody from the Big 12, and I don't care who it is, just needs to change that perception, because when that perception change, changes, I do think that the viability of the Big 12 continues to be maximized over a conference like the ACC. Right? It's becoming the haves and the have-nots. The Big 12 have always been considered part of the have-not club. Now that we're kind of, I think, taking a little bit more upwards, we've got to grab life by the horns, as they say, and make it happen within the next few years, or the Big 12 is always going to be relegated to that other conference.
What do you think about us calling the Big 12 brand name fill in the blank a year from now? What do you think about that whole idea?
I absolutely hate it. I can't stand the idea of the All-State 12, Dr. Pepper 12, whatever you want to call it. I can't stand it. But I will say it does seem like an inevitability, right? Like I was watching a Major League Baseball game the other day, and they were wearing like Love's Quick Trip logos on their jerseys too, right? It's always been there for soccer, and then it creeped into the NBA, which I thought was stupid. I can't stand the yellow Love's logo on the Oklahoma City jerseys. I can't stand it, but I saw it last night in Major League Baseball as well, which means it's coming. It's coming, Mark. And if Brett Yormark's going to continue to be the visionary that he has been, maybe we're the first ones to pull the trigger. I tell you what I do prefer more than the naming rights thing is the private equity, right? Just from a financial perspective. Is it good to give away 20% of your potential profitability? No. But at the same time, nobody's going to be willing to invest $1 billion in a conference that they don't foresee being profitable. I think that from a financial perspective would put the Big 12 significantly above the ACC. So that I feel like is only a matter of time as well.
Cody, as we've talked about in the past concerning Oklahoma State recruiting, and since we are eyeing the future here, of course, there are commits coming in for 2025. So the number one rated player in the class was just committed here in the last couple of weeks. Michael Riles out of Texas, defensive lineman. Kobe Foreman, the most recent wide receiver out of Texas. So we know that to look at the recruiting ranking next to Oklahoma State, forget it. It doesn't mean that much. But are you happy with the way things are trending, the guys that they're getting, the approach? Again, we know that they're not in for certain athletes, but if they get the kind of guys that they want for their program, that it certainly paid dividends in the past.
Yeah, I'm very, very content with where we are right now. I do think that, we have the opportunity to have the best class in Oklahoma State history, which was 2011. We had the number 21 class. We've had the number 23 class, but it's been a long time since we've busted the top 30. We've been hovering between 21 and 33-ish from what I've noticed here recently. I expect us to be competing in the top 25 for recruiting classes every single year. I think most Oklahoma State fans do, right? The years of getting the 67th ranked class and having them, gain 35 pounds and shave 2/10 off of their 40 in 3 years before they're ready to step on the field, those days are starting to become less and less. This last year's class, you got Tamarick Johnson, right, walked in the building at 6'3", 235 pounds. And then you got Gunnar Wilson walked in the building, 6'3", 245 pounds. These are guys that we used to not get from a size perspective. That's precisely why I'm very excited about this class. You mentioned Michael Riles. We also got Adam Schobel to flip over from Baylor, 4-star with a legacy, behind him that has a lot of NFL pedigree. I think he's going to be big for the class. DJ Duggar is a very underrated running back. Jaden Sanders is a safety that just got upgraded to a 4-star that I do expect to commit to Oklahoma State soon. And the other day, TCU got a running back named John Denman. And I said in my show Friday, whomever gets John Denman will not get Michael Turner Jr. So that means Oklahoma State is still in the running for Michael Turner Jr., which is actually a sneak peek to my episode today because I got some good news on that front. AKA, I think Oklahoma State's recruiting number is about to get better, and the replacements for Ollie Gordon are about to be Cowboys.
Folks, get some more analysis on OK State, and you heard it right here. Good news. Some good news coming. So check out Cody's work there at Lockdown Oklahoma State. Again, we've got the X/Twitter handle right there. Anything else that people need to know to lock in on what you've got going a little bit more easily?
No, man. Find me on the socials. Check out the show. Obviously, it's on every single podcasting platform, visually as well, available on YouTube. I'll make a couple, guest appearances here and there, but other than that, I would implore everybody to not only get excited about the Big 12, but if you're not a Big 12 fan, at least watch it. As Mark mentioned, from top to bottom, are we the best conference? Absolutely not. Are we the second best conference? Probably not. But we're the most balanced conference, which means from week in to week out, whether you're seeing Oklahoma State play Kansas or Kansas State play UCF, it's going to be a ball game and it's going to be worth watching, unlike watching Georgia versus the Citadel or Alabama versus Vanderbilt. Those are games that aren't worth watching. The Big 12, you got to tune in every single week. It's a war, and it's fun.
Well said. Cody, appreciate you stopping by, breaking down OK State for us.
Yes, sir. It's been an absolute pleasure and honor every time, Mark. Thank you much, brother. What you do and what you've been doing, to me, it's kind of one of the pinnacles in the game that we should all be trying to strive for. So I appreciate your time and what you do for all of college football, really, brother.